Yeah, but totally off just really fast because I know we're limited on time.
Hold on,
Yeah,
Megan.
yeah.
I think we need to turn you down a little bit.
Let me see.
She's caffeinated. She's ready.
She's ready.
I'm still
How
a little
about now?
sensitive to the world right now.
How's that? Is that better?
I think so.
I think
Okay,
so.
because I've gotten yelled at before that I need to sit closer. So I was like, but if this is good.
Welcome to Just for Moms. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Callie.
We are regular moms talking about regular stuff
Like aging,
Parenthood,
work-life balance,
and figuring out what's for dinner. Again.
a no judgment zone to talk, laugh,
And maybe cry about all the things women think about on a daily basis.
Wait, hold on. What kind of what? I'm looking at mine. Was this my chat? What kind of jobs do you have for your kids around the house? That's what I wrote.
That's what I wrote.
I read that and I thought it was yours, Caitlin, and I was like, "Oh, that's a good question." I could have sworn I wrote something else.
I did not. That is not my question.
Okay, great.
I know. I was like,
I love when I do that. It's like an outer body experience.
Yeah.
Today I showed up for my dentist appointment and they're like, you don't have a dentist appointment today. And I was like,
Oh,
yes, I do.
geez.
You text me. And I
Yeah.
like showed them the text and it was response C to confirm and P to call back. And I must have accidentally hit P instead of C. But nobody called me. She was like, yeah. She's like, you left us a message. And now I'm like, did I black out?
Yeah.
And then call the dentist and be like, I'm not coming? I just don't understand. So I understand this. Like maybe you wrote that. Maybe we all blacked out.
All right. Should we officially get started?
yes. Sorry.
Hi everyone. Welcome back to Just for Moms. Roll call. Charlotte. Now you guys go.
Megan.
Callie.
Caitlin.
That was
get it.
great.
We're gonna get it one week. So we were just laughing. Maybe I'll leave it in, but maybe I won't. I wrote like a whole chat conversation that I just blacked out and completely forgot. So I had asked the question to start. What do you guys first of all, do you guys have jobs for your kids around the house?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still trying to remember why I wrote this question. I think I was sitting at my kitchen counter. We have a job chart on the refrigerator, and the way we do it for our family is that there's 4 jobs. They are feed the dogs, deal with trash, load the dishwasher, empty the dishwasher. And they rotate through. And so, I don't know, I must have been screaming at one of the kids about feed the dogs, do the dishes. And so maybe that's why I wrote the question. So that's what we do for jobs. But I love hearing what other people do with their kids for jobs. Megan, what kind of jobs do you guys have?
So they're very minimal and easy, and it is a hard time for them to achieve them without 3 reminders. Like as simple as it is from bringing the trash buckets from the garage to the end of the driveway, dragging 3 of them is part of everyone's take turns. And then the laundry, I fold them and put them at their door to each child that it belongs to, and their job is to put it away, and that's a very hard task. I usually, yeah. So I would say laundry and trash.
Hardships. Yeah. Callie, what do your little ones do?
So we don't have like necessarily weekly jobs where it's like they have to complete it by the end of the week, but we will do what I try to do is like family cleanup times because I feel like my kids are the age where it's like it's a modeling activity still a lot. So usually 3 nights a week after dinner, we do like family cleanup. And each kid, I'll be like, okay, Miles, you have to we have like a wet vac. And Finley, you have to clear the table and wipe it off. So it's not as strict. I feel like for our kids, it's a lot of modeling. Some of my children are far more into it than others. I'll let you guess which ones are doing it and which ones are like in the corner not doing it. But it's nice. It's sort of like I try to, with the kids when it comes to cleaning and chores, I try to be a lot like, these are things that we do because we all live in this house and we use the house. And so we all have to do it. So it's kind of that kumbaya, like we all ate and we all live here and now it's time to clean up. So that's where we are with our children 6 and under and what jobs they do.
Love it. Caitlin, what do you do?
Well, I would like to say that we have a nice job chart, but that hasn't happened yet in our house. It's kind of, I have I always say if you're an active member of this family, you have responsibilities aside from taking care of your own like your own personal things, such as cleaning up after yourself. There's other things that I ask them to do. They don't just do it on their own, though. We're not really there yet, even though my oldest should be. And it's usually clearing the table after dinner, helping make dinner. I would love if they could help with the laundry, but the washing machine is too deep, so none of them can get down inside of it. And that's something my oldest really, really wants to do, but she thinks she's going to fall in and never come out again. So pretty much the same as all of you. But as they get older, we're going to get stricter around here because we can't do this all by ourselves, or I can't.
I have a question. Did you all have a chart growing up where you
No.
would put the money of the jobs you completed and you might have cheated a little?
No, I didn't get
Okay.
paid.
Okay.
I was just told to
had
do
that.
things and I had to do it.
It was like it was a legit chart that my mom ordered, and laundry would be like 25 cents a load, dishwasher would be like 50 cents, and
I
we
like
would
that.
earn money that way. I do not have it presently in my household today, but I do remember making some money off that chart growing up.
Well, my husband just told me there's an app that you can download and set up an account, and you can pay your children through this app, and it uploads to a card so they could do chores, and that's how they earn an allowance. And eventually I would like to have that when my children need money. Right now, if they need money for a book fair, they have to go to their piggy bank and get, money from grandma or whatever. But as they get older, and if they want to go out and get ice cream with friends, I would like them to have to earn it through something around the house, and an app sounds lovely.
We had that app, and if I recall, there was not a hefty, but there was a monthly fee,
Oh, I don't like that.
and we just weren't using it enough. And
Yeah.
also, like, I guess I sort of feel like when it comes to jobs, I think we all sort of agree that jobs are just part of the deal. So they're not going to get paid to like empty the dishwasher and load the dishwasher. But you're right. There is a point when I started getting an allowance, and I don't remember what the conversation was or if I had to do anything above and beyond. Our daughter who's away for school, it makes sense for her to have an allowance, but she doesn't do anything to earn it. But she also has to pay for, if she wants to have ice cream at night, she has to pay for it from her allowance. So she's just not home to reap the benefits of our checkbook being open. So I don't know what else we would ask them to do if we were going to pay them. I mean, I like the idea of working for money, but we're not there yet. Right now, it's like you're part of the household and put away your milk.
Yeah,
And
you should do it for free. It's
Yeah.
part of living here.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
free rent.
yeah, right. Okay, let's move into pits and peaks.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Okay. No. Let's move into mom fails.
Great.
Oh no, the snorting.
Your confidence going into that.
Oh my God.
She's ready to be done. She's like, this episode, I'm over it.
The brain fog has entered the chat. We're going to move into mom fails. And part of the reason I'm moving us on, I guess now is as good a time as any. We're trying on the podcast to bring in just some guests so that we have a larger community. They're a big part of our conversation. And so I think you've noticed we've already done 2 episodes where we speak to someone, right? We had Gal Practical and then we had Sitter Connect. Those were so fun. We have someone else today that I spoke to. But we are also, guys, we're making podcast friends. Is that a
We're
thing?
so cool.
Yes.
So we wanted to talk to you guys about our newest podcast friends. They have a podcast called Mom's Night Out. And I just have to say for the record that they've hacked the system, and they've done something that we've threatened to do, but we've never been able to pull it off. They just meet at night with a cocktail.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, I'm a little jealous.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah.
I know. Cheers to them. I want to come.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh
think
my
they'll
gosh.
invite us?
Cheers.
we had the best laid plans of like, yeah, and we're going to do like day drinking. And then it always was like, we had to get back to pick up kids and conference. It just never worked out.
Yeah.
To day drink as a mom is tough. So
Yeah.
they've certainly hacked the system. I listened to one of their episodes about conspiracy theories, And it's so funny to listen. I mean, it's the same dynamic where it's like, what are you talking to your girlfriends about? They just happen to actually have the cocktail. But it's so funny to listen to people just prattle on about silly things. I mean, we do a little bit of it and then we try to reel it in for our topic. But listening to them talk about conspiracy theaters, theories, we talked about the drone once, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We talked about like the moon landing. I didn't realize, I didn't fact check. I was doing my hair, but they said we haven't been to the moon since that infamous, like potentially controversial moon landing. And they were like, well, no, it didn't happen. If we've never been back, it's never happened. So now I have some notes to myself to go fact check, but they're great. We love them. You guys, which ones have you listened to?
I was listening
listened
to
to
the
the-
birthday party.
Yeah, I just listened to that one this morning too. Talking about like bad birthday. Well, they were talking about this woman had a birthday party and she had a list of instructions for people who came to the birthday party, like of things you could and couldn't buy for their child.
Yeah. And then
very
they were
specific.
talking about that the only rule should be don't bring gifts. And then they segued into how you could sabotage someone that you don't really like by bringing a terrible gift to a birthday party. And then you find
Yes.
out that two of the friends on the show have done it to each other, like had their kids give each other terrible gifts. And I'm
Like a
cracking
noise.
up. Yes, because my brother did this to me, gave me this like 6-foot long stuffed caterpillar for my Annabelle when she was 2. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? And my brother and my sister-in-law thought it was the funniest thing ever. So yeah, I could totally
That's funny.
relate. They're great.
My sister gave us, I'm sure you guys have had it, but you know those microphones or megaphones where the voices change?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like giving someone a kazoo.
Yeah. I want to give my brother's kids like a hamster or something and see them get all annoyed. But I did love how Jenny, Katie, and Molly, did you see how they had their husbands on too and did some content with them
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah,
and
that's fun.
reels and episodes? Yeah, they just seem like a really fun group. And I feel like they're like all of us, Instagram friends.
Yeah,
They are,
They
right?
seem like a good hang. So we
Yeah.
wanted to mention them to our audience. You guys should go check them out. Mom's Night Out. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts and tell them we sent you because they're really fun and they have cocktails, so they're smarter than we are.
Yeah. Hopefully they invite us over.
We got our water, not champagne like them.
I have some drink that I bought on TikTok that's apparently meant to like equalize my creatine levels or some God knows thing
Well,
that's like
that's
dipping.
cool.
I don't, oh, Megan's like, "Huh? What is it?"
Yeah. You know
Mouth
me, I'm
tape?
down to try all that stuff, right?
I
The
know.
paste. How about the ad? Do you guys ever get the ad for that whitening paste that's supposed to be amazing, but I guess it's like a total flop? Did you try it, Caitlin?
No, I saw it. I looked very hard into the videos
Yeah.
to see if it worked because I wanted it, but then I didn't buy it.
Okay, same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Okay. Now let's move on to mom fails.
Yes.
We did
Yes.
it. I'll go first just because then I won't forget it. My mom fail is I have lost the thread on my kids' homework. I used to be so confident that they're doing it. And if they're not, the teachers are going to let me know. Turns out neither of those things is happening. So we've had to really crack the whip with some children in the Smith house, which is fun. Callie, do you have any mom fails?
Mine is, I shared this on Instagram. I have my almost 2-year-old. I find that I keep talking to him in questions, and like this poor child must be just exhausted by the end of the day. Like the other day he was talking, he was like holding up his hands because he had spilled something. And I was like, did you spill something? Like, of course. He's like, Mom, I spilled something. And then I get over and it's ketchup. He has ketchup on his hands. And I'm like, oh, do you have ketchup on your hands? Like, he's like, yes, Mom, I have ketchup on my hands. Then I go, do you want me to wipe it off? Like, the poor kid is probably like, what the F? Like, can you please get this? So I don't know why I do it. And I'm trying to I understand sometimes speaking in questions to toddlers is fine, but I feel like I'm overdoing it. And my child probably has like decision fatigue and I'm trying to fix it.
You're in your Socratic era.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caitlin, do you have any?
Yeah, it's on the toddler spectrum. So we're a no swearing household. I don't like to say shut up. We don't say stupid. We don't say hate. But I say, oh my goodness, a lot. And now my toddler says it all the time. Everything is, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And it's kind of becoming inappropriate, and she does it when we're out places, and she says it at the correct time. And so, we kind of have to tell her not to say it because it does now sound not like a swear, but just you shouldn't be saying it this much. You could just it's not that big of a deal. Whatever happened, Arbor, it's okay. So I need to stop. I need to think of something else to say or just not be so dramatic whenever
Jesus Christ, Arbor.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Megan, do you have any mom fails?
Yes, I let Gianna do an arts and crafts session in her bedroom on her desk versus coming downstairs to the kitchen table. And she wanted to paint seashells that had been in a crate from the basement. Number one, they smell nasty. Number two, she painted them on a towel, but I feel like paint got more on her desk than on the shelves. And she's 12. She's very good at arts and crafts, but I had to clean up a lot. She did help. And then number three, seashells, they get like, when they break, there's like white little particles all over the place. So it was all on the carpet. And again, I'm glad she wasn't on the screen. So I was trying to have some patience, but I do not like arts and crafts sessions in the children's bedrooms. I prefer them to be at the kitchen table where I feel like the mess is a little more manageable.
Sure. There's a creep
Fair
factor for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move into our topic. The topic today I chose because I think so. The topic is, how do you talk to your children about sort of non-traditional families, non-nuclear families? So the idea that if family, and I'll give some data on this because it's interesting how much this has changed. So like 25 years ago, families were quite often a mother, a father, and then the child. And as we all know, that is just not the case anymore. There's so many differences. All of us have sort of traditional families, and so that's what our kids have seen. But I think as a parent, it's really important to sort of normalize and discuss all the different iterations that might be a family. So I thought it might be interesting to talk about that and just see how we tackle it. I had a chance to chat with my dear friend, Brian Patrick Flynn, who I know from the interior design world. I also happened to have been with him when he and his husband, Hollis, welcomed their one and only daughter, Clover, into the world a year ago. And so I've seen this little girl grow up, and we've talked a lot about having a family, what it meant for them. So I will play my conversation with him after we chat. But we had a nice talk about what family means to them and how they plan to navigate things. I have picked up from you guys, and I did a little research. So it's contagious, the whole preparing for an episode thing. This was pretty easy to find. I didn't have to be too cute about it. But some of the data that I found that I just thought was so interesting is that fewer than half, so 46% of U.S. kids younger than 18 years of age are living in a home with two married heterosexual parents in their first marriage. So that means that 54% are not. So this is a marked change from 1960, when 73% of children fit this description. In 1980, it was 61%. So we're clearly seeing a shift away from these sort of typical mother, father, offspring model. Another stat I found, gay and lesbian households increased from 540,000 to 980,000 post-legalization of same-sex marriages, and multi-generational households have increased from 7 to 26%. So this represents a 271% increase over a decade. So the change in the common family structure from traditional to non-traditional happened quickly, and the laws haven't moved as quickly to keep up. That's a little something that Brian talked about. It's obviously part of a larger conversation about just talking about differences with kids overall, but I thought family differences would be a nice place to start because that's something that we can all really relate to because we have families, and that's something that our kids see on a daily basis. So who wants to start? Caitlin, how do you broach this? Do you broach it with your kids? Has it ever come up, or maybe not?
I don't even know the first time it would have come up, but presently my daughters dance at a dance studio that's owned by two moms and a daughter. And so I know to other children it's been questioned, but to mine it was never questioned. It was just the dance teachers are married and they had a daughter. And my middle child has spoken multiple times about kids at school who have two dads or two moms or only one mom and no dad. And so I never had a conversation about it. It was just there. It's just normal. And for myself growing up, my mom's cousin, I don't even know when she married her partner, and then they had a surrogate, and then they had a son together, and so that was just normal. It was just always part of my life. But I know that that's not the case for a lot of other homes, and I know when I was living in the South, it was just not as normal, especially when I was teaching in the school that I was teaching in. Everything was very traditional there, if that's how I want to word it.
How about you, Megan?
So my kids have definitely asked some questions. I remember one time we were at a library group and there was two dads there with his son, and Nico did ask me, Mom, that boy has two dads. And I'm like, yeah, he has two dads. Then we just moved on from it. I just feel like in my house, the girls, it's never really come about. I just feel like it's today's dynamics. You have a traditional family, or if it's two moms, two dads, whatever it is, the children are loved the exact same way. And I just teach my kids, we're kind to everyone. There's nothing a matter with someone having two moms or two dads. So if there's honestly never been questions where my kids would have been like, that's weird, or why is it like that? I'm just like, yeah, they have two dads. And, we just go on our way. And, again, it's not traditional like our house, but there's nothing a matter with that, and those kids you can tell they're loved just as much as us. And I think it's great. Families for me is all about the love and the bond that you have. So if it's two dads, two moms, a mom and a dad, whatever it is, I think it's great.
Callie?
It hasn't really come up. I mean, we don't have anyone directly in our life. I feel like that's been super like non-traditional. I know we sort of talked about it, like we kind of hate that word, especially, I mean, when you look at the data and when it says that it's less than 50% now. So it's like, is it I guess it's traditional is still the word. But for us, when it comes up, I think we just, with like anything that's a tricky topic with our kids, we bring it up as we encounter it. And so whenever my son tends to be the one who's very inquisitive. He always has a lot of questions, even about anything. Like we have a neighbor who lives alone and she has a very large house, and he'll be like, why does she have that big, huge house if it's just her? So we kind of just like, we tackle them as we come. And I just talk about, it's always just, every family does things differently and they do what works for their family. And we will always talk about the differences and the similarities. So we'll be like, well, this family might do, these things are different, but what things are the same, and what things are they doing that's, the same as how we're doing them. So, and again, my kids are also still, quite young. My oldest is only 6. So the way that we sort of broached it is just, I think what makes the most sense for my kids is people that they know in their direct circle. So as it comes up, then we talk about it. I mean, my son came home from school not that long ago, and it must have come up because he had said something about, he's like, well, a family, it could have two dads, right? And I was like, yeah, you can have two dads in a family. And he was like, it doesn't happen as often. And so we just sort of talked about it. And I said, no, it's not as common. I said, but, you can have two moms, or you can have two dads. I said, and then I talked about families we know where, maybe it's just the mom and the dad's not there anymore. And so, it can be 8 million different ways. So again, younger children, so they haven't sort of entered the chat of some other things that might come up when it comes to all these different family dynamics. But we've sort of just tackled it as it comes up and as they have seen real world examples of it. So they have something like contextual to go off of.
A couple of things that I have tried to sort of check myself with at home that I think helps, because, you are limited by who you meet in person. And so I try not to make any assumptions. So when I talk about families, or people I don't know, I try not to sort of say their mom and dad. I might say parents. So, I might sort of give the option of the differences that a family might have if we're talking about it, something in general. I also, and Brian mentioned this when we were chatting, something as simple as having just books that have different representation. That's a really easy way for kids in a quiet setting to just sort of normalize the fact that a family might be a grandma, a family might be a sibling, a family might be same sex. And it's not, we're not getting into like the birds and the bees of it all. I think sometimes people get so far ahead of themselves with these conversations, and it's just as simple as like that. Those are her parents. And so those are some things. I also brought up, and I guess I'm spoiling the whole conversation I had, but I went to a workshop and it was really interesting. The workshop was about race, and that is a little bit different, obviously, than talking about family structure. But I think the point remains is that sometimes when we as grownups are uncomfortable or hesitant to get into something, we just avoid it. And what their note was is like, you don't have to have some hot take. It's as simple as just making the observation. So, not that you need to go around like pointing at everyone you see, but if someone in close proximity, if you standing behind someone in line at Starbucks and it's a same sex couple, it may be as simple as like, oh, look what she was ordering with her mom's. So it's not like having a big, deep conversation. It's just naming it to sort of bring it into focus, I guess was the point of it. And so that was something that I sort of think about, is that if I do want to have a conversation, it doesn't have to be this big heady thing.
Yeah, I love thinking about it that way, because I do think sometimes when our kids come home with questions or they notice something, like we think like, all right, we need to sit down and it needs to be this like grandiose thing, but because in our mind it's this really big topic, but to our children it's just something else that they noticed about the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have no prior knowledge. I think that's the worst part about being an adult is all of this backstory when they don't really care. They don't care, nor do they even understand it. You had said, maybe somebody's parent is their grandmother. So I taught in two different areas. Before I was referring to an affluent area. Now I'm referring to a very low income area. And a lot of my students had very different home lives, and their families were made up of just everything under the sun. And I vividly remember having to just say, who lives with you? Who do you eat dinner with? Who brings you to school? It was never, do you have a mom or a dad or anything like that? Because I didn't want to put it out there that you should have a mom or a dad or something like that, because I didn't know where they were coming from. And there were some kids in the class who did have a mom and a dad and didn't know anything other than that. And then there were other children who were raised by a grandmother and that's all they knew. And so with my children, I have to catch myself because I'm an over talker and I over explain everything. I do it to everyone I know, and I'll just have to bite my tongue and be like, all right, you said enough.
Yeah.
Like, shush.
Yeah. You know what, Charlotte, back to your point, I thought right in my head, I have a friend here that runs a successful business, and her partner have a daughter. And I didn't realize this. And when she told me she had a baby, I was like, oh my gosh, congratulations. I'm so happy for you and your husband. And she was like, oh, it's my partner. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I didn't, and she was like, it's fine. Everyone says that. I was just so embarrassed. And she was like, don't be embarrassed. I'm like, I apologize. She's like, everyone thinks this like you think,
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, this is a non sequitur, and then we'll move on because I want you to hear my conversation with Brian. But I also do it with my own kids when I'm talking about like when you grow up. Like I never say when you grow up and like get married or have like a boyfriend or a girl. Like I don't know. They may grow up and be with someone who's the same sex as them, same gender. Who knows? So I've gotten better at checking that part of the conversation too. And I was born with no middle name so that when I grew up and got married to a man and I took his name, I wouldn't have to lose a name. Like it's just a different time.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we can listen to my conversation with Brian. It was really fun. I happened to record this like a day or two before I got to go down and visit with him. So I also spent, maybe that's my peak, I spent my weekend snuggling with not him and his husband, with Clover. Who's like, you forget. First of all, I remember when I had kids, my mother would be like, I don't remember. I am already doing that. Like she's about to be 1. She's not quite walking. And they'll be like, do you remember when she ate solids or when she had milk? And I'm like, no, I remember none. I remember Eleanor did not walk before she turned 1. That's my only data point. But I've already forgotten. Needless to say, she's so smiling and happy, and it was the best. I think there's a lot of people that still think that a family is a mom and a dad. And so the point of this episode is like, how do you navigate the fact that your kids are going to be going to school with families that are single parents, same-sex parents, grandparents raising them, siblings raising them? That's sort of what we're going to get into. And I thought you could be a point of like our expert in that regard. Have you and Hollis talked about how you are going to talk about like family with Clover? Or is it just like, this is our family, it's not even a discussion?
We haven't really given it a lot of thought yet because we want everything to just kind of unfold and develop like fluidly. But I think the term that seems to be the easiest that just kind of flows is modern family because I try to avoid using the term modern family because of the TV show. And
I mean, it's
like,
such a good show, though.
oh, and it really holds up. It aged beautifully. But a modern family, it's kind of a broad term. But anyhow, as Clover grows up, now that she's like around the 1-year-old age, I think that it's important to us to start pointing out to her that families come in all different shapes and sizes. So we don't ever want her to feel left out if she's in school and like all of her friends have a mommy and a daddy. So we kind of want her to know, hey, a lot of families have a mommy and a daddy. And then some families have just a mommy or just a daddy. Some families have two mommies, two daddies. Sometimes a family is the person raising you might be a generation above where you would expect to be. It could be a grandparent. So it's going to be pretty heavy on our list of things to do. Like, I think we want to really make sure she knows that there's nothing different or weird or strange or not normal about her having two dads.
I went to a workshop once and they said you can notice a name was sort of there. And it was definitely a workshop it was on race specifically, but it was like, if you're looking at a book, you don't have to have a big, heavy opinion about it. You can just be like, oh, look at this character. I noticed that this character looks like they have a darker complexion. I wonder if, you don't have to have any opinion. So it sounds like that's sort of your approach is like, oh, look at, Josh has two moms and Clover has two dads. Like, you're not giving an opinion, you're just naming it.
That is probably the best way to describe it. One of the other ways that I describe it is by saying, Susie, is she left-handed or right-handed? Like, there's no, it doesn't draw any type of response from anybody, good or bad. There's no difference between somebody having a mom and a dad versus two dads and two moms versus somebody who can't write cursive. Like, it's just,
Right.
yeah, we're on the same page. It's not
just a data point.
Good or bad. It's just a data point. Exactly.
Now, by the time this airs, you may officially be parents of a 1-year-old. Cue the tears. Have you and Hollis encountered any issues thus far being a family with two dads, whether emotional or logistical? Like, how has that been for you to be a modern family?
Yes to both. So logistically speaking, there's a lot of paperwork out there that will ask, mother's name, father's name. Well, Clover, technically, biologically, she has a mother or egg donor, but technically she doesn't. So it is kind of a strange hurdle. It is something that needs to be addressed because I don't ever want my kid to feel left out or to feel like she doesn't exist. And the fact that I think if paperwork was properly worded for, say there was different categories like mother, father, or just like
Parent.
Actually, that's probably correct. Parent one, parent two. There are a good amount of legal forms that I found a lot of times from legal firms, like in the city, it just says parent, and it makes it so much easier because there's no explanation. So to answer your question, logistically, yes, when it comes to paperwork. Emotionally, there's two parts to it. There's going out to dinner in areas where people 99.9% of the time just see a child with a mother and a father or a child with a male and a female. When we go to smaller towns, Hollis can usually feel like from the tables next to us. And we're so numb to it now because for me, it's just like, who cares? Like, why are you even pointing it out? This kid has two loving parents who had to go through remarkably difficult scientific things to make her exist. Like, there was no one night stand happen where all of a sudden we're like, hey, we're having a kid now. This was years of planning and it was super strategic. So luckily, now that my daughter is, she's around the 1-year mark, it's not really affecting us that much. But the fact that it's 2025 and we still have people making comments, body language says a lot, and it's just not cool. I just think about how it's going to affect her. I don't care how it affects me. I'm a grown up, but I don't want it to affect her.
Yeah. And then last question, do you have any tips for parents that may be, from the traditional mother, father, mom, dad family with how you would like them to engage or discuss this? I don't mean to put you on the hot seat as like speaking for all non-traditional families, but yeah, any tips? What would you like people to know or ask or approach?
I just think it's really easy when somebody meets Clover and then sees that she has two daddies to say, you want to say hi to Clover's daddies? Something as simple as that. Or say hi to Clover's parents. Or something along the lines of, say hi to Pops and say hi to Dad, and just leave it at that and let the kid draw their own conclusions. So we haven't really gotten there yet, but I just don't want to draw too much attention to it. It is a question that's going to come up, but we're prepared for it. We wouldn't have waited till our mid to late 40s to have children if we didn't know it was going to come with some people saying, "What?" So it is what it is.
Yeah.
There's one thing that comes to mind a lot. I think about like when she's old enough to be on the playground, old enough to be in sports and activities and stuff. And one of the things that's kind of tricky about being a same-sex parent is, especially when you're a gay guy, you associate a lot of the being left out as being in middle school and being the last person picked on the team in recess or PE. And I'm anticipating that eventually possibly being a thing where we go to an activity and all the other kids have a mommy and a daddy, and then there's one kid that has two daddies. I could be wrong. There might be multiple. But I think as somebody who grew up being the outsider and not necessarily fitting in with all the other heterosexual kids, I use a lot of my experiences from my past to plan on things that I will probably encounter now as a same-sex parent. I don't like that. Unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in, but I'm a grown-up and I can take care of myself. But I think it would be really, really nice if people like yourself really had these adorable little board books that show that families come in all shapes and sizes. When a kid is very little and they're just totally exposed to seeing that all kids have different parents, it's not even a thing anymore. And that's just what I hope happens once my little kid is speaking and talking and socializing. I want her to grow up around other kids who just don't look at her as having two dads, as thinking there's anything necessarily different. She has loving parents. Who cares that it's two guys, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Just to normalize it. It's like we have a book that's about there was a time when women didn't wear pants, and the first woman that regularly wore pants, it was like shocking. And like that's sort of a non-emotional example of the same thing, exactly what you're saying. Like there was a time when that was the most radical thing you could do and everyone was talking about it, and now you don't even bat an eyelash. So I am with you. I think the goal is for kids to see, friends that have all different family makeups, and it's like, oh, whatever, that's their family.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good analogy. So those are my main things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And I don't think that was my official peak. No, my official peak was that spring sports have started, so I get to go and relive my glory days on the lacrosse field, which is fun. Callie, do you have a peak or a pit?
I just realized I didn't write anything down.
Then I'll skip you.
Yeah, I don't have one. I don't know.
Okay.
I got nothing.
Megan, do you have a peak or a pit?
Yes, I have a peak. I went away this past weekend with my girlfriends from high school to Mystic, and there was 7 of us, and we've been friends for 29 years. And I just feel like for me and other moms out there, if you can take a break, I come back with so much energy and more patience with my kids. I just need that break sometimes. It was exactly 24 hours. I left here at 12:30. I was back at 12:30. But it was just fun to get away and spend time with your friends. So that was
so fun. The logistics of that are
Oh, yeah. Oh, please.
hard.
Yeah. I know. I felt like the dirty dishes that I left in the dishwasher
Still
were
there?
home for me to unload when I got home. So it's all good. Whatever.
Caitlin, do you have a peak or a pit?
I have a pit, but you celebrated your birthday, right, Megan?
Yes, that was my birthday. That was my birthday fun thing to do. Yes.
And your gift was the dishes when you came home.
Yeah, they were clean, but I had to unload them. I was like, oh,
yeah.
this is my coffee cup from yesterday morning. Thanks. Thanks, family.
I have a pit, and I hate ending on a pit, but so it's dance competition season. It's like my favorite time of the year. And my oldest is not one to get very emotional at dance competitions. She goes out there, she does her best, she comes in, she likes to eat her snacks and hang out with her friends, change and go do it all over again, all of her routines. And this year she noticed the mistakes she made on stage and made eye contact with me when she was making them. So I was like in the audience, already emotional because she did a very mature lyrical dance this year that was just blew me away. And so I get backstage and I'm like pretending nothing's wrong. And she's angry because this was her first reaction after this dance was anger. She goes out and does another dance, makes eye contact with me as she messes up, comes back, and now she's crying. And I'm like, oh shit. So then I'm trying not to cry, and just in a nutshell, it was bad. It was very bad. I talked to a lot of dance moms. They said that first moment when you're like toughest one cracks, like it's hard on you, but you could get through it. And then some of the older girls are going to talk to her before the next competition. I had a lot of dance moms reach out and talk to me. It was rough. And then I got the stomach bug 24 hours after it. And so the last couple of days have just really sucked.
You sure you don't have a peak, Callie?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I do. I have a peak, and that it is my mom came this weekend, which is always nice to have an extra pair of hands. We're trying to move her down here, and we just have
that's
to find
good.
somewhere for her to live. So hopefully someday my peak will be my mom lives down here now, because I don't have, mom next door, aunt, whoever. We don't really have a family community near us, unfortunately. So that would be really, really nice.
I'm dying for my parents they're beginning that process. And
Yes.
I'm trying to be kind of chill about it, because they're also looking at places near my sister, because my brother is still sort of single and fancy free, and they just, the grandchildren. And I'm like, yeah, you should pick, wherever you find a spot. That's
Connecticut.
Yeah,
Here, but it should be
But
here.
I think you'd really like Connecticut.
Yeah, no, my mom's locked and loaded. Like here, we're just figuring out the logistics for her. So it'd be nice.
There's some houses for sale in my neighborhood, and we have a really great neighborhood.
That's too far. I need her close enough that she can take my kids to school. She also has friends, we're from Connecticut, obviously. Yeah. So she has friends actually in this area. So she really does. She wants to be kind of in one of the towns right in here.
Well, that is a peak.
That would be helpful for childcare.
Just anything. I mean, so she was here this weekend. Sorry, now I'm going on a tangent. She was here this weekend, and I told you guys like 2 episodes ago that my son is super into Magic Treehouse books, and I haven't been able to find a lot of time to read them. And like she was able to like sit on the sofa and like read him an entire Magic Treehouse book, and just like stuff like that I'm like, there's all these studies about, I mean, even just we were talking about earlier about multi-generational households, or just how it's hugely beneficial to grandmothers to be around their grandchildren, that, they say there's all these benefits, but there's so many benefits to the children as well. So, I mean, I'm just grateful that that we have grandparents that want to be part of our children's lives, because some people don't have that. But that part, that my children would have that person in their life growing up, it's not something that I realized is so important. And I'm so like grateful that they will have that. So, yeah.
Have you seen those TikTok videos where the mom will be like watching, Johnny go over to visit grandma, and she'll just film the little kid like tottering out the back steps across the field, like over the whatever. And then you can see like, yes. I would like nothing more than that.
I know. The granny. Have you heard about granny pods? It's this like whole new movement where people are putting tiny homes in their backyard.
That will be my mother.
Grandparents. Yeah, okay. We can't. I mean, we like zoning wise. Trust me, I looked at zoning wise. We can't. But I would love a granny pod for my mother-in-law too. I would just have 2 granny pods, but it's not in the cards for us.
Me and my sister have been fighting over my mom. She's not that old, but the other day we were like, "No, I'm getting her." My mom's like, "You guys need to stop," and I was like, "Dad can go somewhere else, but I get you."
Almost on cue, the dog has started talking. Did you hear her?
I heard her.
No, not that time.
She said she had to go out.
Yeah, she's like, you guys are done. Wrap it up. So thank you guys for listening. Make sure you go check out Mom's Night Out. They are hilarious. Leave us a review. Listen to our podcast. You know the drill. I was going to say my peak is almost listening and reading comments on YouTube. I love all the comments on YouTube. There's so many good ones. So thank you for listening. Thank you for just being part of our community, guys. This has been fun.